So you've seen in the past that I've used a product called Ezythix. I use it to infill some cracks that I had cut out, like chased out. And today I'm using the same product, Ezythix, and I've made up a small amount, and I've added it in at 2:1 to give me a paste sort of consistency. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to put it into these cracks. I can use a polyester bog in these types of cracks if it's a non-structural, non-critical area, but because this is a main thoroughfare where people are going to be walking and where there's going to be some forklifts, then I'd rather do the repair with an epoxy based material. Anyway, I'll show you how easy this is. So the actual repairing the cracks itself is quite simple. It's the right viscosity so it doesn't slump. It's the right viscosity so it's easy to spread. It's resin rich enough that it can wet out, as you can see, and I can get it flat enough that I can let that cure without having to then infill it later. Anyway, I'll keep going. I had a bit spare, so like a bit left over. So rather than waste it, I thought I'd try and see how it would adapt to other things. We know that it's good for the cracks. But here I've got an area where I've blown out with the shop blaster back to aggregate. It's pretty coarse in places, and I want to just skim it. So I'm going to use the same Ezythix material with resin and see if I can just use it like a skim coat to get it looking a bit better. It'll be interesting when I hit it tomorrow to just clean it up to see whether it feathers and whether it's bonded, whether it was resin rich enough or not. It feels resin rich enough, but let's have a play and see what it does. Interesting, it infills it okay, it feathers out well, it seems resin rich enough. It's not entirely perfect, but I quite like that. That's able to do some repairs, which is handy. I'll need it to do more than one thing. Let's see how that cures. So here we have the final piece of the puzzle, which was I've used this Ezythix Thixotrope material in with a straight resin. I've used it on three separate sort of uses. One at a 1:1 ratio, infilled on saw cuts, not saw cuts, well I did try it on a saw cut joint as well, but where I've chased out cracks. Two, I've used it for at 2:1 ratio for a straight scratch infill on static cracks, which was really easy to use. And then the third thing I wanted to see was just how it went as a bit of a skim coat. If I have bigger areas, then was it resin rich enough for me to skim it down? Was it resin rich enough to not require a primer? Like, would it bite on the edges, or was it too dry? Sometimes these types of materials, thickened materials for patching, end up too dry. And the way to determine if they're any good is next day, grind that edge and see whether it feathers. See if you've got a bite or not. And in this case, it behaved nice. As you can tell, I've still got some hollows in there, but my aim was really just to infill that blown out area, as you might remember from the shot blasting. Anyway, overall, interesting trial. I like that type of Thixotrope, and I'm sure I'll keep trying different types, but for the moment, I think I can use that for different types of repairs. As always, I'm ResinJack. Take care and keep smiling.